Ladies, let's talk. We live in a world where we're finally having real conversations about intimacy, and that includes what men actually want in bed. And no, it's not all about domination or control. What men crave secretly goes far deeper than a few wild moves. It's about connection, confidence, and yes, a little bit of unpredictability. Most people assume that when it comes to intimacy, especially rougher, more dominant styles of sex, the man should be the one to take the lead. It's a belief shaped by outdated gender roles, romanticized movie scenes, and a lack of honest communication. But what men don't often say out loud, and many women don't realize, is that one of the biggest turn-ons for a man is when she takes control. Not just in words, but in when she leads the encounter, when she initiates the moment, when she's unafraid to claim what she wants. That's when things get electric. Taking control isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's not about acting like a man or being overly aggressive. It's about showing your partner that you're confident in your desire and unafraid to express it. And that expression, that raw confidence, is deeply attractive when you're the one who makes the first move. Whether that's by pulling him close, whispering what you want in his ear, or simply locking eyes in a way that says, "You're mine tonight." You send a powerful message: I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to take it. This kind of initiation isn't just about starting sex, it's about setting the tone. Think about it. When a man walks into the bedroom and sees that you're the one steering the energy, that you've already decided how things are going to go, he's instantly disarmed in the best way possible. You're not waiting for him to create the fantasy, you are the fantasy. It removes the pressure from them to perform or guess what you want, and it allows them to fully surrender to the experience you're creating. Now, some women might hesitate here. You might think, what if I come off too strong? Or what if he doesn't like it when I take the lead? But here's the secret. Most men are dying for this kind of moment, because as much as they enjoy being in control sometimes, they also crave the feeling of being desired, of being wanted in an active, undeniable way. When you take control, you show him that you're not just going along for the ride. You're here to drive it, and that changes everything. Control can look different for every person. For some, it might be physical, grabbing his hands and pinning them down. For others, it's verbal, saying exactly what you want and how you want it. And for many, it's about presence, being fully in the moment, fully engaged, fully confident. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes the most powerful kind of control is subtle. It's the way you breathe, the way you guide him with your body, the way you change the rhythm to suit your pace, not his. The beauty of taking control is that it taps into something primal. It flips the expected script, which instantly increases anticipation and desire. Men aren't just turned on by what they see, they're turned on by what they feel. When a woman walks into a room or leans into a kiss with that quiet, commanding energy, it hits a deep place in the male psyche that says, this woman knows herself. And there is nothing more magnetic than that. This move also creates balance in the relationship. It sends the message that both people are responsible for pleasure, for intensity, for exploration. You're not waiting to be swept off your feet, you're doing the sweeping. And that dynamic, when done with care and clarity, builds trust. Because the truth is, taking control only works when there's safety. When he knows that you respect him, that you see him, and that this moment is as much about connection as it is about thrill. You don't need to have years of sexual confidence to do this. You just need to make one bold move. One action that says, I'm not waiting tonight. Maybe it's climbing on top of him the moment you shut the door. Maybe it's pressing him against the wall and kissing him like you've already imagined it 100 times. Maybe it's taking his hand and leading him to the bedroom without a word. These moments don't have to be rehearsed. They just have to be owned. And that's what taking control is all about. He said, there's something deeply psychological about the act of restraint. At first glance, it might seem like a purely physical element of rough sex, holding his wrists, tying his hands, pushing him down. But beneath the surface It taps into an emotional and primal layer of trust, vulnerability, and intense arousal. Restraint is not just about control. It's about power being given and received willingly, and that exchange is what makes it incredibly erotic. Many people associate bondage or physical restraint with dominance and submission, but that dynamic doesn't have to be extreme or theatrical. It can be subtle, it can be sensual, it can be as simple as grabbing his wrists and pinning them above his head while you kiss him, or whispering, "Don't move," with a slight push of your hand on his chest. That moment when he lets go, when he stops moving, when he allows you to take over, is when everything shifts. That's when desire transforms into something deeper, something more immersive. Men, though often conditioned to be dominant or always in control, can find restraint incredibly arousing, not because it makes them weak, but because it gives them permission to surrender. For once, they're not responsible for directing the energy, for being the initiator or the decision maker. In those moments, they're allowed to just feel, and that freedom, the release from control, is something they don't often get to experience in their daily lives. This kind of physicality doesn't require ropes or handcuffs, although those can add to the fun if both partners are open to it. It can be done with just your body, your hands on his wrists, your thighs pinning his hips, your weight pressing into his chest while you hover above him. These gestures say something powerful without using words. "I've got you. You're mine. Stay right here." And for many men, hearing that, feeling that, is one of the most intense turn-ons they've ever experienced. What makes restraint so impactful is the psychological contrast it creates, the contrast between wanting to move and choosing not to, between being able to act and choosing to surrender. When you hold a man down, even lightly, you invite him into a game of control and permission. It heightens the senses. It slows time down. Every touch, every breath, every glance feels magnified. And he's not just receiving stimulation, he's immersed in a moment of emotional and physical tension that keeps him completely present. There's also something to be said about the trust required for restraint to work. A man won't fully surrender if he doesn't trust you, and that's part of what makes it so intimate. It's not just about the physical act, it's about what it represents. When he lets you hold him still, when he allows you to guide the rhythm, the pressure, the pace, he's telling you, "I feel safe with you." That vulnerability, far from being a weakness, is an incredible sign of connection, and in that space of surrender, pleasure becomes more intense, more layered, more real. For you, restraint is a way to explore your own confidence and control. It gives you permission to play with dominance in a way that's both empowering and exciting. You get to decide when and how things move forward. You get to explore your partner's reactions, take your time, slow things down, or build the tension until it's almost unbearable. There's power in that. And not the kind of power that dominates for the sake of ego. It's the kind that creates chemistry, mystery, and mutual respect. Even light restraint can flip the script and elevate the experience. Imagine placing his hands above his head and telling him, "Keep them there." You haven't tied him. You haven't locked him down, but you've created a rule, a boundary, a challenge. And now he's choosing to follow it. That mental game, that sense of playful obedience builds anticipation. He's waiting, watching, holding back. And every second that passes, every second you make him wait, becomes part of the tease. Men crave this not because they want to lose control completely, but because they want to feel something different, something intense, something that shakes them out of routine. And when a woman introduces restraint, whether physically or through words and intention, she's not just making a bold move. She's creating a fantasy, a moment where he's desired so deeply that he's taken, not asked, where he's allowed to feel small, only so that the connection can feel bigger. Dirty talk is one of the most underestimated, misunderstood, and underused tools in creating sexual intensity. For many people, it feels awkward or forced, like something only seen in movies or heard in adult content. But when done right, With authenticity and presence, dirty talk becomes one of the most direct pathways to arousal, especially for men. It's not just about the words themselves, it's about the energy behind them, the confidence in your voice, and the intention you bring into the moment. Men often crave dirty talk, not because they need to hear something obscene or shocking, but because it pulls them deeper into the fantasy. It tells them that you're into it, that you're not just passively experiencing the moment, you're participating fully with your mind and your mouth. That's what makes it hot. That's what elevates the experience. Because men aren't just physical creatures, they're also mental. And the mind, when properly teased, becomes the most powerful erogenous zone. When a woman uses her words with boldness and purpose, it activates something visceral in a man. It tells him he's wanted, desired. It creates a space where nothing is off limits and both of you can explore fantasies freely. And here's what's really important. Dirty talk isn't a script. It doesn't have to be vulgar to be effective. It just has to be honest and turned on. It can be as simple as telling him what you want him to do, what you're going to do to him, or how he makes you feel in that moment. For example, whispering, "I want you so bad right now," or "You have no idea how much I've been thinking about this," can completely change the mood. It flips a switch in his brain that tells him he's not just a participant, he's the object of deep, focused desire. That message lands on a very primal level, because while men often play the role of the pursuer in everyday life, being pursued in the bedroom through language can be an intoxicating shift. What makes dirty talk especially powerful is the psychological layering. It's not just about the physical act. It's about adding a narrative to it. You're not just having sex, you're creating a scene, a story, a moment. That's why timing and tone matter. You could say the exact same words in two different ways and they'll land completely differently. A confident whisper in his ear carries a weight that a casual mumble never will. A firm, commanding tone invites submission, while a teasing, playful one ignites anticipation. You don't have to be an expert in seduction to make this work. You just need to tune into your own desire. Say what you feel. Say what you want. Say what you like. That's it. The more real you are, the more powerful it becomes. Because the truth is, most men don't want a perfectly polished performance. They want authenticity. They want to feel that you're turned on, that you're in this with them, and your words, raw, unfiltered, even imperfect, are one of the fastest ways to show that. Another layer of dirty talk that often gets overlooked is instruction. Telling him what to do, how to do it, when to stop, when to keep going. That kind of vocal leadership drives men wild. It takes away the guesswork. It lets him know exactly how to please you. And in doing so, it creates a powerful feedback loop. You speak, he reacts. You respond to that reaction. It becomes a dance, one where your words are leading the rhythm. There's also the element of anticipation. Using words to build tension before things even begin can be incredibly erotic. A simple sentence whispered in his ear before dinner, or a teasing message sent in the middle of his workday, can shift the entire energy between you two. It tells him the game has already started, that you're not waiting until the bedroom to seduce him. You're starting now with your voice, your words, your intention. What makes this truly effective is when it comes from a place of confidence. You don't need to speak constantly or become someone else entirely. You just need to trust that what you have to say is powerful, that your voice, when filled with desire, is irresistible, because it is. Dirty talk is not about being perfect, it's about being present. It's about saying the thing that feels good to say in the moment, without shame, without second guessing, without filtering. That freedom, that rawness, is what makes it unforgettable. Routine is the silent killer of desire. What begins as thrilling, passionate, and spontaneous can gradually become predictable if we don't keep injecting novelty into the experience. Men, just like women, are wired to respond to surprise. It's not always about shocking them with something extreme or dramatic. It's about breaking the pattern, shaking up the rhythm, and keeping them guessing in a way that keeps the fire alive. That's where the power of surprise comes in. When you interrupt routine with something unexpected, even something small, it sends a message of excitement, confidence, and playfulness that goes straight to the core of desire. The element of surprise creates tension, the good kind. It rewires his focus and pulls him into the present moment. Imagine the difference between a night that follows the usual steps and a night where, suddenly, he's pushed against the wall with no warning, kissed fiercely, and told exactly what you want. That moment, that's a jolt to the system. That's the kind of shift that flips a man from passive to completely alert, engaged, and aroused. It's not about doing something outrageous for the sake of it. It's about disrupting the expected so that everything feels fresh again. This doesn't require an entire change in your personality or style. Surprising him can be subtle. It can be a move he's never seen you make before. A certain grip, a shift in position, a whisper in his ear you've never said before. It can be initiating in a place that's not the bedroom, undressing him before he even knows what's happening, or stopping right before the climax to take control in a way that completely throws him off. In the best way. The point is, you're no longer following a script. You're writing it in real time with energy and creativity that keeps him mentally and physically stimulated. Men crave this more than they'll ever say out loud. They want to feel like they're in an experience that's unfolding unpredictably, that they don't know what's coming next, and that's what keeps them fully in it. Predictability breeds passivity, but surprise demands presence. It requires him to pay attention, to respond, to participate with his full awareness, and when that happens, everything intensifies. His touch becomes more instinctive, his responses become more reactive, his desire becomes more raw. What's interesting is that many women underestimate their own power to surprise. They fall into a role, a routine, a comfort zone, and while that can feel safe, it can also limit the potential of what intimacy could be. The truth is, you don't need to be someone else. You just need to tap into parts of yourself that haven't had space to be expressed. Maybe that's your bolder side, maybe it's your playful side, maybe it's your dominant side. Whatever it is, the moment you reveal it, just a flash of something he hasn't seen before, it'll change the game. There's also a psychological angle to this. When you surprise a man in bed, you're showing him that you're thinking about pleasure beyond the moment. You're investing in it. You're creating a scene, an experience, a memory. And that kind of thoughtfulness, when paired with boldness, is something very few people bring to the table. It makes you stand out. It builds anticipation. Even after the moment ends, it makes him wonder what's coming next time. And that sense of not knowing, that craving for what you'll do next, keeps desire alive. Surprise is also a beautiful way to express confidence. When you make a bold move, when you take a chance and do something different, you're sending the message that you're comfortable in your skin, that you're not afraid to explore. And that freedom is infectious. It invites him to let go of expectations too. It gives him permission to be more expressive, more curious, more open. You start a feedback loop where you both inspire each other to go further, feel more, and break out of whatever routine might have dulled things down. And let's not forget the emotional aspect. Surprise can be romantic, it can be thoughtful, it can be deeply intimate. Leaving a note with a provocative message, lighting candles unexpectedly, or wearing something that catches him completely off guard. It's all part of the same idea. You're showing him that you see him, that you want to engage with him in ways that are alive, dynamic, and charged with energy. That's the kind of interaction that makes a man feel chosen again and again, even in a long-term relationship. Eye contact is one of the most underrated yet powerful tools of sexual energy. It's not loud, it's not physical, and it doesn't require any props or planning. Yet when it's used with intention, it creates a level of intimacy and psychological control that few other things can match. Men crave that sense of being seen, not just touched. When you hold eye contact during intense or vulnerable moments, You're not just engaging with his body, you're locking in with his mind. And that is where the deeper layers of connection begin to unfold. There's something primal about the gaze. It speaks before words. It can dominate or submit, tease or challenge, invite or command. And for a man, being on the receiving end of a woman's confident, unwavering gaze, especially during sex, is electrifying. It signals presence. It says you're fully here, not distracted or self-conscious. You're in control of yourself, your pleasure, and the moment. And when you look at him, like he's exactly where you want him, like he belongs there with you and under you, it sends a rush through his entire nervous system. This isn't about staring blankly or trying to maintain eye contact just for the sake of it. It's about intention. The kind of look that says more than your lips ever could. When you're above him or guiding his movements or even just whispering something in his ear, locking eyes gives it weight. It tells him that the words and the actions are not just physical, they're meaningful. They're coming from a place of authority, desire, and emotional engagement. A power play doesn't always come from the loudest gestures. Sometimes it's the quiet confidence in your gaze that turns the dynamic on its head. When you look at him like you already own him, like you've already decided how this moment is going to unfold. He doesn't need to be told what role he's playing. He feels it. He experiences it. And for a man who's used to being in control in the rest of his life, that shift can be thrilling. Eye contact becomes the silent language of dominance. And when you pair it with subtle physical control, like guiding his hands, slowing his movements, or shifting the pace, it amplifies the power dynamic without a single word. This level of connection through the eyes also deepens trust. It tells him he's not just a body, not just a tool for pleasure. He's being watched, understood, and invited into something deeper. That gaze communicates safety, but also a kind of daring. It's an invitation to go further, to let go, to match your energy and surrender to the moment. And the more he feels seen, the more likely he is to open up, physically and emotionally in return. Men often say they want a woman who's confident, but what they don't always articulate is the confidence isn't about being loud or wild, it's about presence. And presence is felt most clearly through the eyes. When you're with a man and you look at him like nothing else exists, like you're completely tuned in to what's happening between you, he feels chosen, he feels desired, he feels like he's experiencing something rare and real. There's also a teasing element to eye contact that shouldn't be overlooked. Holding his gaze while doing something bold, unexpected, or intense creates contrast. It's the sweetness of the stare with the roughness of the action that drives him wild. It's the moment you're on top of him, completely in control, yet looking down with a soft, slow gaze that says, I'm enjoying this even more than you are. That mix of dominance and affection is what keeps the moment emotionally charged. Eye contact also makes him accountable in the moment. When you're looking at him, he's less likely to retreat into his head or become passive. He's forced to stay present, to keep up with your rhythm, your energy, your expectations. It draws him in like gravity. And because of that, the connection you create isn't just physical, it becomes something far more magnetic. Men may not always verbalize how much this affects them, but they feel it. They remember it. That feeling of being fully seen and desired without having to perform, compete, or guess what you're thinking. When you use your eyes to communicate confidence, craving, and command, it reaches into the part of him that wants to be taken, not just physically, but emotionally. And that's the place where real chemistry starts to catch fire. There's a deeply psychological thrill in the moment a woman initiates. For many men, it's not just arousing, it's validating, affirming, and even healing. Society often casts men in the role of the pursuer, the initiator, the one expected to make the first move and keep the sexual momentum alive. While some men might be comfortable in that role, it can also become exhausting, repetitive, and lonely when it's always one-sided. So when a woman flips the script and initiates with confidence, it taps into something raw and primal that men don't often get to experience. The feeling of being deeply wanted. Initiation isn't just about starting sex. It's about energy. It's about intention. It's about walking into a room and making it clear that your desire isn't waiting for permission. Whether it's with a look, a touch, a whispered word, or a physical move that leaves no room for misinterpretation, that initiation tells a man something powerful. You're not just willing, you want him. That desire, freely expressed and confidently acted upon, is one of the sexiest experiences a man can have. There's also a layer of emotional safety created when a woman initiates. Many men carry silent insecurities about being enough, about being desirable, about whether their partner is still attracted to them. These thoughts often go unspoken, hidden under bravado or humor or emotional detachment. But when a woman takes charge and makes the first move, those fears are instantly silenced. She's not just participating, she's leading. And in that moment, a man feels chosen, not out of obligation or habit, but out of raw, undeniable desire. Initiating doesn't have to be aggressive or overly sexual right away. It can start subtly, sitting close and placing your hand on his thigh while locking eyes, whispering something suggestive into his ear while you pass by, climbing onto his lap without explanation and slowly letting your body do the talking. These are small actions that create huge internal responses. They wake him up, they pull him into the present, they show him you're not waiting to be seduced. You're doing the seducing. For women, initiation is also a form of self-expression. It allows you to explore your own hunger, your own pleasure, your own fantasies. When you lead the moment, you're not just giving him something, you're owning your own desire. That kind of confidence is magnetic. It sends a message that you're not afraid to go after what you want, and that you're comfortable being the source of someone else's pleasure. That's a power few things can match. Initiation also shifts the balance of sexual energy in a way that keeps things fresh. When both partners are responsible for igniting intimacy, it prevents the dynamic from becoming stagnant. It creates space for creativity, for surprise, for role reversal. When a man doesn't know what to expect, he becomes more alert, more present, and more responsive. He doesn't fall into passive patterns. He rises to meet your energy, and in that dance, tension builds. Chemistry builds. A sense of unpredictability returns, and with it a new level of excitement. There's also something wildly erotic about a woman who owns her sexual voice, not just in words but in actions. Walking into the room and kissing him without a word, grabbing his belt and pulling him toward you, unzipping his pants while maintaining eye contact. These moments don't need to be rehearsed or complicated, they just need to be real. When you initiate with certainty, even if your hands tremble or your heart races, it becomes real. And real is what hits the hardest. For many men, this type of initiation speaks to a deeper craving, to be wanted not just for what they give, but for who they are. When you approach him with intention and hunger, it reminds him that he's desirable beyond the role he plays. He's not just your partner, he's your fantasy, your object of desire, your chosen one in that moment. That experience, the feeling of being hunted instead of the hunter, awakens something carnal. Something ancient, something unforgettable. Initiation also changes the emotional stakes. It says, I'm here with you. I'm not waiting. I'm not passive. I'm creating this moment with you. That sense of mutual contribution is what makes sex feel like connection rather than just performance. It turns physical interaction into shared experience, and shared experience into unforgettable chemistry.